point for the timing.
Can I ask about the technology you use?
Yes, of course. So we basically have built this as like a microservice application. So we have a data layer which we built in Ruby on Rails, which is basically how we manage to have a shared view of the lawyers throughout the different portals, because obviously that information needs to be shared through these views. We also have an MVC, model view controller, Ruby application, which is managing the charities and lawyer communication, because their portals are so similar, and the individuals we built in Node.js, in part because of the expertise of the people we had available on the day. But the reason we built it like that was because we saw lots of opportunities to extend the technology out beyond this kind of minimal product, and by keeping these layers so separated, it'd be very easy to then plug in other services and other views to this application.
You said it's hosted?
So one part of the application is hosted, the MVC app. If you visit, I believe it is...
It's fast-law.herokuapp.com will take you to the live hosted Ruby on Rails MVC product.
Fast-law.
.herokuapp.com, as we are using Heroku.
Oh, Heroku.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we didn't have the budget to get the custom domain quite
No,
finished.
it's fine.
Obviously, the aim of the application is commendable, it's very important. Have you carried out some research in terms of your competitors? Because that wasn't mentioned at all. And obviously, you don't need for the users a proper legal knowledge, but then how do you identify the lawyers once that person doesn't really know whether that fits into family law or commercial law? That creates some issues there.
So I'll work from the last question backwards. So to do that pairing when you're not aware of the law yourself, what we haven't built the logic into this application just yet, but the next stage would be to basically have this facility where any user can put into their request that they don't know the area of law. And also, if they put the wrong area of law, the lawyer who it reaches can say that this actually is not my area of law, so they can reflag it to being unknown. And it'll get put into a pool, which will then be, if a lawyer has, for example, half an hour pro bono time and is willing to spend that categorising that information, they'll be put onto a separate register where they will be given a list of those requests that have not been paired up because they haven't got that specialty, and their pro bono time will be spent properly categorising those into those areas of law. And I think the first question, sorry, could you repeat?
The first question was about the previous work you've carried out in terms of competition.
The research for competitors. Okay, so a part of that is to say that our application, we're envisioning as being an open source application. So whereas other people might see competitors, we see sort of alternative solutions that may actually be able to leverage our technology if it would help them. But in fact, we do have some background in this space working with other people who work in this kind of free advice area. So we recently, me, myself, Alaric, Toby and Sergio's been working with Legal Beagles who do this kind of open question and answering product in the form of a public forum, which obviously is great for some solutions, but for some people who want to remain anonymous or want to have more confidence of the credentials of their volunteers, and also for the lawyers who want to have a kind of record of that donated time, because the thing with Legal Beagles is you have volunteers, but that they do that themselves sort of anonymously and separate from their legal profession, so they can't use that in any way to for example, for their law firms for donated time if that's part of their corporate commitment. So it in some way formalises that particular type of work and makes it maybe more desirable for lawyers to get involved, and in some ways more desirable for individuals who don't want that to be on public forums.
How does it make money?
Well, again, our personal commitment with this project was we wanted it to be an open source product. So the funding that we would be concerned about is how do you host the application, the service for the information. I guess the mentality of it being open source is that you kind of hope that, or you want to promote that amongst charitable organisations or bodies that are this would be sufficiently helpful for that they would be encouraged to fund it. So, for example, we actually have been speaking to the SRA, which is the Solicitors Regulation Authority in England and Wales, about supporting a platform that performs this kind of functionality, and we are currently engaging with them about whether or not we can get funding through them for it. So, I hope that answers your question.
And what about getting people to use it? What's your plan to get people to use it?
So, I mean, part of that is talking about like the user journey and doing those kind of user stories. So we have,
Thank you for
sorry.